Ow! Dean Koontz! There's a guy who's experienced his fair share of punches.
Oh, yes. Yes, he has.
Yeah, those abusive father types will get you.
And how?
Oh, absolutely. Anyway, on to this episode of Live with Regis and Kelly. We review abusive fathers and the type of child that an abusive relationship can create.
Sounds exciting.
Oh, it shall be.
Yes, and you'll notice neither of us are Regis nor Kelly.
Yeah, they're in the back, but let's not go into that right now.
Yes. So anyway, let's talk about Dean Koontz.
Yes, let us divulge any information on the subject. Let's spill our guts to the world.
You're odd.
I try my best.
Anyway, let's share with our viewers all about Dean's early life and childhood. Then we'll talk about his schooling. Maybe we'll even talk about some of his books and what we think of them. And then we'll end on his later life, summing up his entire writing career.
Well, let's start today's show off with Dean Koontz's early life.
His life, but early.
Indeed.
So, as earlier mentioned, Dean Koontz did have an abusive father.
Yes, he did. He is referred to his childhood as a nightmare childhood. His father was an alcoholic, and a heavy one at that.
As a child, Dean's father would come home drunk and randomly burst into a fit of rage. He provided very little security for his family and went through 44 jobs in 34 years. Eventually, he was diagnosed with borderline schizophrenia.
Yes, and while Dean's mother did try to shelter him from his father, he generally found his own respite. He would enter the world of books and movies.
In fact, when he was a mere 8 years of age, young Dean taped some of his stories together and sold them for a nickel each.
When young Dean grew up a little bit, turning into slightly older Dean, he won a nationwide newspaper contest for his entry of an essay on the theme, What Being an American Means to Me. He was 12 when he received this award.
Moving on from his early life, let's delve into his education.
Sounds fun.
Everything sounds like something to you, doesn't it?
Well, we are speaking out loud, so yes. Yes, it does.
Anyway, Dean went to college at Shippensburg State College. He graduated in 1966, earning his bachelor's degree, and went on to work for the Appalachian Poverty Program as a teacher/counselor.
Oh, but don't forget during his years at college, he won the Atlantic Monthly competition for a short story. After that, he started selling his fiction books.
Yes, he did. And to be honest, he did quite a good job, didn't he?
Positively stupendous.
Anyway, after graduating from college, he married the love of his life, Gerda Ann Sarah. Romantic, huh?
Quite. Dean's job was disillusioned with government inefficiency after only a year, so he shifted to teaching high school English while he still wrote and published his science fiction novels. A year and a half later, Dean started writing full-time. And in only 4 years, Gerda was able to quit her job, provided that Dean was making enough money for the both of them, which he was.
An overabundance, I'd say.
Having married Gerda, that about ends the chain of Dean's family.
Yes, as they never had a child. We don't know whether they ever tried or not, but I'd rather not think about that anyhow.
I agree.
He did have a dog, though, and they are, after all, man's best friend.
They sure are.
Dean's dog, Trixie, was always the closest thing they've had as a child. Being the successful writer that he was, Dean even wrote a total of 6 books, all based upon her.
That sure is man's best friend. Having such a successful writing career means that we have much to tell our viewers today.
We sure do.
Dean has been writing for over 46 years. That's a long time. And within that long time, he has managed to write over 174 books. I get bored just writing one, so I give him credit.
You can't even write.
There is no need for such hostility, Sir Vincent.
My apologies.
'Tis quite alright. And you know what else is quite alright? Awards! And let me tell you, Dean's books have won and or been nominated for quite a few. Just to summarize, over 4 of his books have been nominated for the Bram Stoker Best Collection/Novel Award. Several of his books have had the British Fantasy Society Best Novel, while also achieving the World Fantasy Best Novel. He has also been nominated for the Hugo Best Novel and the Prometheus Award Best Novel.
Why, just look at all those medals.
Quite an achievement.
Yes. Dean, being the creative individual that he is, also has his own sort of writing style. Many of his books have been set in Southern California. He also has a recurring theme of referencing T.S. Eliot. Some of his most used words are ozone, blacktop, spoor, malevolent, preternatural, and heretofore.
Whoa, he does have quite the fancy use of lingo.
He also creates an extremely artistic picture in one's mind, giving incredible descriptions of the setting's architectural and interior design elements. He has been known to describe a streetlight as a sodium vapor light.
Yes, I have also noticed the awe-inspiring level of detail that is Dean Koontz's writing.
Yes. So tell me, Nathan, what type of books does Dean typically write?
Horror!
Why would you call me that?
No, silly, horror! Boo! Ghost! Ah.
Oh, horror!
Indeed, although several of Dean Koontz's books have been categorized as horror, this is not what Dean wants. He prefers to be classified as sci-fi.
Did you know that the Horror Writers of America convinced him to be their president?
I do now. But that is weird, don't you think? Because he said he really didn't want his work to be classified as horror. So, how on earth did they convince him?
You know, I really don't understand that one either. We must be missing something, but I'm sure he doesn't have every bit of his personal life on the internet.
True. In fact, he's so secretive that he uses pen names like crazy. He has written gothic romance novels as Deanna Dwyer, horror books as Owen West, suspense as Leigh Nichols, and many more. He has also used his own name for books in which he crosses several genres.
Dean's first ever book, written as himself, was StarQuest, back in 1976.
That really doesn't fit in here, but thanks for that random tidbit. It's nice.
You're welcome.
Dean also used to write child's books. Shocking. I know.
That is something I didn't expect, I'll be honest.
The information in today's episode is brought to you by the editors of the Salem Press, About Dean, Concise Major 21st Century Writers, The St. James Guide to Sci-Fi Writers, Fantastic Fiction, The Book Report, the Gale Virtual Reference Library, and Wikipedia.
Now to the portion of the show where we give our reviews of the books we read by Dean Koontz. I, for example, read The Taking. I found it to be an entertaining story filled with action, suspense, science fiction, and even a splash of horror. It has a captivating plotline that mixes Armageddon and War of the Worlds.
That's quite the combination.
Yes, it is. This book is probably one of the best books I have ever read. I would recommend it to anyone who likes any genre other than romance, for the very reason that there is none.
None at all.
Quite. So how was Mr. Murder?
Well, Mr. Evenson, I found Mr. Murder to be incredibly fantastic. Like The Taking, it too was filled with action. There was twists and turns, spins and whirls, and other patterns of movement with which I was not familiar. The storyline was extremely fascinating and extraordinarily detailed. I was hanging on the edge of my seat, and there was even the time when I completely fell out of my chair. The characters were brought to such life that I felt as though I was really in the book. When I would go to bed at night, I had dreams of the book, thinking that it was all real. The different characters' stories and how they all collide in the end is simply marvelous. I would recommend this book to anyone that can read, for the reasons that it's the kind of book most anyone would like. It's got your basic romance, suspense, excitement, quirkiness, and overall sophisticated terminology, but used in such a way, the book itself explains what it means.
Well, join us next time on Live with Regis and Kelly, when we talk about puppies and why they're so gosh darn cute.
See ya!
See ya!
Knotted up to date, but in a most exquisite way, like neckties or like macrame, bowlines and zeppelin bends. If you were a theremin, I wouldn't know where to begin. My hands would stay here on my chin with a hum